Hey people, Fitzsimmons here. They call me Fitzy, sometimes Fitzdog, Grapefruit Simmons. Call me what you like. What was your nickname? I'm curious. Let me know. My dad was Fitz, my brother was Fitzy, and I was Fitzdog. That's how we split it up in my family. And it helps when you have a nickname. When I was in like 7th, 8th grade through high school, everybody got a nickname. One guy was Sap because he would always fall for shit. One guy was the Twitch because he had a little twitch. We called Mike the Bug because he had his ears stuck out and he had big eyes. Johnny Trouble. Herman, because the guy looked like Herman Munster. Oh, wait. Phone call coming in. Let's take it. It's the wife. We like to put her on.
What are you doing?
Hey, baby.
Where are you?
In the office.
What's happening?
I'm taking care of business. What are you doing?
Walking the doggies.
Nice. What are you wearing?
Clothes.
Which ones?
Who are you talking to?
Honey, you're on the podcast. Isn't that exciting?
God. Click.
She hung up on me. She doesn't like me sometimes. Puts up with a lot of shit. A lot of groping. Do you grope your wife? I do. All the time. She's sexy as shit. Curvy. Yeah, baby. Anyway, what's going on? I just saw the Borat clip of him and Giuliani, where Giuliani comes into a hotel room and is seduced by this girl. And it's just so humiliating, I think. For Giuliani used to be this guy. I mean, living in New York, I never liked the guy, but he had national respect because of the way he handled 9/11. Which, look, and that's the thing you got to realize, like about Trump. All he had to do was handle Corona. All he had to do was be honest, be straightforward, listen to the scientists, and he would be a fucking shoo-in right now. Giuliani didn't do shit after 9/11. He fucking showed up at the right places, said the right things. Other than that, you know, there was a lot of waste removal from some cronies who made billions of dollars. There was a lot of shady shit that happened. And, you know, wars, guys get elected during wars. I'm sorry, reelected. You fucking... Anyway, what else is going on? I don't want to talk about the election. It's all anybody talks about. Fuck. Get out and vote. You know, register and vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. That's up to you. I think you guys know where I stand politically, but I support the process. Get out, go to the polls, put a sticker on that says I voted, tweet it at me at Greg Fitz Show. I will retweet any photo of you with an I voted sticker on to support this. It's fun. You go there, there's old ladies sitting there. Sometimes they got cookies. This year it'll be fun because there's going to be Proud Boys standing there with AK-47s. It's going to be energetic. Don't let that scare you. That makes it a better story. Tell your kids someday that you were there when shit got crazy, because it will. And there's going to be no clear answer. That night, November 3rd, 4th, 5th, 12th, maybe the 18th. I'm thinking November 18th they declare a winner. And during that time, I'm going to take fucking Vicodin and stay under the covers because I don't want to be around that kind of anxiety. Jesus. This whole thing, this whole pandemic, I'm realizing like this is a test. This is a test of your fortitude. Can you step up and still exercise during the pandemic? Care about your weight. People get fat. But then some people, like the Sklar boys who were on the show today, both lost substantial weight during the pandemic. It's an opportunity. Or it's a living hell. It depends on how your mind is built. And for me, I need deadlines. I need to be on a flight to go to a city to shows at 8. I need that shit. I don't need this. I'm doing 3 podcasts a week. That's an hour. They're an hour each. Maybe I prep for a couple hours for each one. A lot for Sunday papers. But that's not a full-time job. It is a full-time job. It's all I'm fucking doing. I pitched a couple shows. We sold one. Sold a show to a network. I won't say which one. They bought it. Executives got fired. They dropped it. New executives came in. They bought it again. Then they had some kind of meeting at the top and they fucking dropped it again. And then I kind of went, fuck them. I'm not pitching any more shows. But now I'm like, nah, I got to go pitch some more shows. I got to sell a goddamn show. I got some ideas. Anyway, one of the things people are voting on is in California. I don't know how many states have a referendum. Referendums are fun, aren't they? A referendum, I think it's Prop 22, and it is... excuse me. Fucking tired. Got up early, did a recording with the Sklar boys. Then I went and played a round of golf. Then I came back to my studio, and I recorded an episode with Tig Notaro, which will be coming out in the next couple weeks. And then I had to edit a video clip of some stand-up that went up today. Go to my Instagram. You can see my stand-up clips. They go out every Friday. And now I'm doing this. I'm going to go home, throw a move on the wife, get shot down, and watch some Schitt's Creek like an American. Anyway, this Prop 22, it is saying that Uber and Lyft drivers should be and DoorDash, Uber Eats, anybody who's delivering or ride sharing, any of that stuff. They're trying to say they should be employees, and they have been previously paid as independent subcontractors, so they get no unemployment, no benefits, no minimums, no protections. So this law, which looks like a slam dunk, except the money that's been spent trying to kill it by Uber and Lyft and all these companies, they spent $200 million. It's the most it's ever been spent on a proposition in an election. Because if it happens, well, here's what I read. If the drivers are reclassified as employees, their pay and benefits would increase. But the app-based gig companies say there'd be far fewer jobs because customer fares would rise and demand for rides would fall. The companies probably couldn't even operate in California, they say. Yeah, these companies hate it when they got to start paying. Don't they hate it? Don't they hate it when they got to actually pay the fucking help? The people that are the equity? These shareholders that are making billions in Silicon Valley are, you see these Uber drivers, they're fucking out at 5 a.m, driving their cars, get some drunk throwing up in the back. Give them some benefits. I'm a big believer in that. It started with MTV back in the 90s when they started having permalance workers. They were the first ones to do it. To say you're an independent subcontractor. Even though you're working 40, 50 hours a week in this building for us with a name tag, you are not an employee and you don't get benefits. They started it, they got away with it, Viacom, and then it just fucking took off. And now nobody's getting shit. And, I don't know how you feel about unions, but they need to be cleaned up, fixed, but not done away with. My father died when he was young. My mom had 2 kids to raise, and because he was in a union, she got his pension, and she got his life insurance through the union, and she was able to get through it. I've been in the Writers Guild for 16 years, 17 years. Pays my health insurance, It's going to give me a pension someday. We need that shit. That's how you live. How are people going to live now when they turn 65? Nobody has any savings anymore. It's going to be a lot of fucking A lot of people doubling up in the house. Raise your kids well because you're living in their fucking garage someday. Anyway, welcome to Fitzdog Radio. My guests are the Sklar Brothers. Before we get started, let's do a couple quick overheards. This is from James Taylor. His name is James Taylor. That has to suck. Because I know a guy and his name is Tom Sawyer. And you think he doesn't have to address that every time someone meets him? James Taylor, I would switch your name to Jim. It's that simple. You're Jim Taylor. Now nobody fucking asks you to sing You've Got a Friend. Anyway, he's sitting in a pub in Bali, which is where I went on my honeymoon in Indonesia. Heard a guy next to me say, talking on the phone, quote, whatever you do, turn off your phone's location. Make sure your phone's GPS location is off. That guy is about to do some shady shit. Maybe he's having an affair on his wife. Maybe he's going to kidnap somebody. Maybe he owes money and he's going off the grid. But when you're turning off that GPS, you're not doing good shit. I'll tell you that much. This comes from Sebastian Dumang, who says, I managed to get a colloquial in so far. He did a say what? So now I'm going to try an overheard. This involves my French grandmother and her cousin. My grandmother's cousin had just come back from her holidays in Algeria. I was taking a shit and overheard my grandmother asking if she had liked Algeria, and she majestically answered, Algeria is beautiful, but there are too many Arabs. Yeah. Gotta get them out. I don't know how the fuck they found it. Too many Arabs. Maybe they should come to this country where they're being embraced by America. I feel sorry for Arabs. Good fucking people. But, not. Anyway, let's get to it. The Sklar Brothers, these guys, they hustle. These motherfuckers hustle. They're talented, they're funny, and they're splitting a paycheck. Every time they go on the road, they're making half. Every time they sell a CD, they're getting half. So they work twice as hard as anybody else. And they're good. They're family dudes. They love their wives. They're good fathers. They're just good guys. I play golf with them. I've known them for 25 years. I just love them. And here's my chat from this morning with the Sklar Brothers.
It's Fitzdog Radio. It's we're coming in from three different directions today. You got the Fitzdog, you got the Sklar Brothers. Mm. Hey now.
Hey. What's up, buddy?
What's happening? We got Jason's in his garage.
Mm-hmm. Where I belong.
Randy's in his wife's office.
Right, which is a metaphor.
I think we've both been emasculated by location.
Yeah. Did you have to knock on your wife's office door to get in?
No, I had a key.
Is that a metaphor?
Is that a metaphor?
I hear it's a skeleton key.
Yeah, it is. No, it only works for that office. Don't get me in trouble.
No, you don't want to break the key off.
No.
Guys, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
What are we doing?
You know, it's like I'm so used to getting these bursts of, Greg, we love you. We're 250 people. We fucking hang on your word.
Yeah.
We give you love. We buy your shit afterwards.
Yeah.
And now what do we got for the last 7 months? Where are you getting your love from?
Well, here's my question. For you.
Question.
When you're after a show and you're selling your great Fitzdog merch, which I'm sure people love, is there a moment where you say to yourself, oh, I'm just a t-shirt salesman? I didn't realize that's what I'm doing.
The first time I got these t-shirts made, I don't even think I have one in the office, but somebody made this very cool, my nickname is Grapefruit Simmons, right? This woman called the Boston, the Faneuil Hall Comedy Connection. I will assume she's an overweight black woman for the sake of the story.
Sure.
Okay.
And she says, she goes, who's on the show tonight? And they said, she's from the 1800s.
Okay, great.
And they said, well, it's Anthony Clark, Jackie Flynn, and Greg Fitzsimmons. And she goes, is Grapefruit Simmons the headliner?
Always.
He is now.
He is now.
And I made a huge career mistake by not immediately changing my name to Grapefruit Simmons.
You put a little sugar on top, and he is palatable.
That's it. Yeah. You're gonna squint sometimes, but
By the way, you are like a grapefruit. Like, some people fucking love you.
And if you have a sore or if you have a cut inside of you, you will get inside of that and make it feel worse.
Yes, if you have a vulnerable spot, I'm gonna make you hurt a little bit.
But no, dude.
So somebody made a funny drawing of me as a grapefruit.
Awesome.
And they said, I'll send you one. What are you, a medium?
I'm a large still.
Ouch.
And yeah.
Is that a post-pandemic large?
No. Jay and I both.
I've lost 20 pounds in the pandemic.
I lost 13 pounds on Jenny Craig. We've become your aunt.
No shit. Really?
By the way, deciding to go on a diet during the pandemic when all you want to do is like worry eat is equivalent to deciding to take a vow of celibacy in the Olympic Village.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just coming at you from every place. You're a pole vaulter who can't use your pole, essentially.
Right. It's like being a priest and then going, you know what? I'm going to have sex with adults.
Yeah. It's like you're basically switching to something that's not natural.
Yeah. Right. Hey, how about the Pope? How about the Pope saying I'm on board for gay people marrying each other?
By the way, the Pope is screwing everybody. Like, everybody's got Pope Francis in their fantasy league, and they're like, this guy is just...
He's killing it.
Unlike a regular Pope, he is virtually fucking me left and right. Like, like, he has stuck a finger into every evangelical that, like, doesn't want to be touched by this. It's amazing. To me, as a Jew, I'm standing on the sideline going, "This is incredible."
Yeah. It's like when you don't have a team. You're watching a sports game and you don't care which team wins, so you're rooting for the underdog, and the underdog is gay marriage, and you're like, "Here we go! We got a ball game! We got a ball game!"
Is that what it's like?
Yeah.
Is that what it's like for Jewish people watching Catholicism?
Yeah. It's like, oh man, it's like, I don't give a shit if Kentucky beats Duke, but who's the underdog here? It's funny because we've been doing a daily podcast. We've never done that before, but like every day taking a couple stories and going through them and on this podcast. And so, things pop up and basically taking like the worst behavior of the pandemic and trying to make sense of it somehow. But you talk about like, this is very important because when you talk about gay lifestyle within the church and what that means and how they recognize it. So there was an evangelical preacher, like, what was this, Jay, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks
3 weeks ago, who said, and this is so great because in doing it, it's like become a new bit that we're doing. But you talked about at the very beginning, what are we doing not getting on stage? What we're trying to do is develop bits that when the time comes and the world unfucks itself, maybe we can get back on stage.
Right.
But the idea that this evangelical priest, which is not a new thing, but the way he said it was weird, that the coronavirus was a result of gay marriage, which to us was very funny. Like, not gay sex.
Yeah.
Two guys picking out wallpaper for a powder room.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Two guys trying to coordinate their Halloween costume.
Two guys going through the lengthy process of trying to adopt a child.
That's what caused coronavirus. Two guys deciding whether or not to have all white Christmas lights or colored. Like, that's a battle in gay homes. So
right. Two guys deciding to not be communal, to not have sex with other people.
That's right.
It's causing a virus.
To be monogamous.
That's the most brilliant observation. Yes.
That is so great. That is deciding to be monogamous. That's so funny. And that's what caused it. And then the best part about the whole story is that this priest then got coronavirus.
Oh, I love it.
We're like, number one, are you not telling us something? If we're to believe you, and number two, what we think is the more plausible thing, and this is really where the bit comes in, is that to me this sounds like the work of a gay god. Now, listen, we're not saying that there's that God is gay. We're saying there's a straight God and there's a gay God, and
Yeah.
they're different.
And
in a
you
lot of
pissed
ways.
off gay God.
Yeah. You don't want to piss off gay God.
Gay God will smite you and then make fun of your clothes. You know what I mean? Gay God.
And it'll be funny. It'll be
It'll be
smart.
hilarious. Not
Right.
funny in a stand-up comedy way, but funny in the type of way where a handful of straight women are like, "This guy's
Yeah.
the best. He's so funny." Okay, so Gay God like is already in Palm Springs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For Christmas.
For Christmas. Gay God is friends with Anderson Cooper. Gay God could quite potentially host New Year's Eve on CNN this year.
Gay God has great abs.
Gay
Yeah.
God consulted on RuPaul's Drag Race season 2, whereas Straight God was a consulting producer on Queer Eye. And you talk to gay people and they'll tell you that's what it was all about. But like,
Yeah. Everybody say, how did Ricky Martin make a comeback?
I don't know.
Gay God.
Gay God.
Gay God orchestrated all of that. You don't
Yeah.
think Gay God's hand isn't in that right there?
Hey, have you ever seen a great designer dog?
Yeah, Gay God.
Gay God.
Every designer doodle is that. If you don't think there's a gay God, take another look at miniature horses. Do you understand what we're saying? The only thing that Gay God and Straight God have in common is that neither of them had sex with a woman, and yet they both have kids.
There it is.
Hey.
And if you think about it, like, Jesus is very much the child of a gay parent. He's like, doesn't
wear a
care
dress.
as much about pleasing them. He's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
He's cross-dressing.
He's a little wild. He's
got
great abs.
he's literally dressing on a cross.
Yes. And he's very forgiving. He's had to be. When your parents are gay, you have to accept everything.
He's a martyr.
Yeah. Oh, stop being a martyr and clean your room.
Yeah, you got holes in your hand. Big deal.
Yeah.
Why don't you use the holes to pick up some of the things in your room and put them away?
Oh, God.
That's good. That's a good
He thinks
bit.
he thinks he walks on water, this guy. Jesus Christ.
But the idea, to me, I just love that. Like,
don't eat the bread with the flour in it. You're gonna blow up.
he's really into sourdough bread, but then he turns it into fish.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just that. So we're trying to work for those moments. I mean, look, we've done some virtual shows which have been incredible. We just did a show to flip Wisconsin blue. That was like that big,
I heard they raised like $1 million or something.
Dude, it was, first of all, we performed and, there were, I don't know, 1,000 people on the Zoom thing that we were on, but then there were 15,000 people who were watching.
Yeah.
So it was very cool to do comedy in front of 15,000 people, which we just did a short set, but it was very cool. And the show
Could
was
you
really
hear laughter?
Yes. And it's great. So the virtual shows at Nowhere Comedy Club are fantastic. And we've done, you just did our podcast, Dumb People Town, in the Zoom format. And we do that format in front of people. So every 5 weeks we try, on November 7th, after the election, we got John Hamm and the band Tennis are going to do basically what you did on our show, but with audience watching. And those have been great. We do those every 5 or 6 weeks. And first of all, it pays us, which is great. We don't have to travel, which is great. So you sleep in your own bed that same night.
Yeah.
And we get out to people that people say to us, "When are you coming to Maine?" And we're like, unless Bob Marley invites us, we're not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Not right now, at least. And so we're like, "Hey, do you want to see us? Do you want us to be in your living room?"
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so how do you do it? You get together and we're like, what's the backdrop?
Right. So we did it at Nowhere Comedy Club. Our, Ben Glebe and Steve Hofstetter, those guys put together a very cool thing. And in Ben's house, they built this kind of studio. It looks like a tricked out media room where it's like got couches and stuff. And they've got like 3 movie screens down and you can see a bunch of people on Zoom. And then of course we see our guests, but we're set up. And Dan, you did the podcast with us. Dan is quarantining by himself and Jay and I are kind of in a pod together. And so we've sort of brought Dan in and we've all been tested a number of times. So we can be with him. And then the other guests the beauty of that is like we had Birbiglia on. We've never had Birbiglia on our podcast, and he's in New York, because we're like, oh, like we've been to New York and done it at the Bell House, but we've never been able to be like, hey, Mike, you want to do this?
Right.
So we had Mike Birbiglia on from New York, last one we did, and Mike Doty, the lead singer from Soul Coughing, he was in Memphis. He played music.
Wow.
So it was just
that's badass. And so how many people tune in?
So Jay, what do we have?
So I think we had like almost 600 tickets bought, but there were couples tickets and group tickets. There's probably about 1,000 people in there.
That's amazing. That's so great. I mean, that's what you're going to do on a weekend at a club anyway.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And the money is, you know, for us is like comparable to doing a really good weekend for us. And, you know, again, you don't have to get on a plane. You're around your kids. And so, you know, the good news about our podcast is, you've seen, is like we get 3 new stories every time. So
dude, your guys' podcast is so much. It is definitely my favorite podcast to do.
You were so good on it. It's the most in your sweet spot. It is your pocket.
Well, and hanging out with you guys, it's just because we've known each other for so long. It's just the natural. And, but it is joy. It goes by like that. I can't believe an hour goes by like that.
Well, you've been in writers' rooms before where you're with the funniest people that you love, who you love. And we say this is the 30-minute, or this is the 45 minutes before you actually get down to doing work.
Right.
We're like, hey man, did you guys see this? And then you're looking at the craziest video of a woman with her head stuck in a tailpipe at a country music festival, or as we like to call her,
woman at a country music festival.
But that's what you're looking at. And we're all making fun of it in a way that you're like, oh, this is why I got into comedy, because I know how to turn these things and make them funny.
Right.
And that's why we got in this business, because I like being around these people.
But wait, I have a question for you to go back to your original question, because I think about this a lot. What do you miss the most about going out and doing live shows? What is the part? Can you pinpoint, aside from just that moment on stage? I mean, do you miss traveling to cities? And
I miss waking up at Saturday at like 11.
Yeah.
And having fucking zero to think about, to accomplish, to answer to, you know, because everything else is exhausting. You guys know the drill. You get up Thursday morning early, you fly all day, you get in. Sometimes they've got like an afternoon call for you to do at 5:00 with a sports radio station. And then you do a show, you're on a different time zone. So now you're all jacked up. You try to sleep, you can't. Next morning, they wake you up at 6:30 in the morning to do morning radio. You do a few of those. Now you go back to the room. You try to fall asleep, but you drank coffee to get up to match wits with the fucking morning shock jocks.
Right.
So maybe you catch like an hour and a half of sleep around noon or 1, and then you get up groggy, and now you got 2 shows to do. And so then you wake up Saturday, and finally all that madness is over. And you've got your good shows coming up Saturday night. And so you wake up in a good mood already. And you guys are college football fans. So then you got college football all day uninterrupted.
I know.
I think that's my moment. It's Saturday waking up.
Yeah. And for us, I mean, I know you're working besides the thing. So like Friday's filled with like, you got to get on this conference call and you got to work on this thing. And I've got to record
my podcast intro I do on Fridays. Yeah,
that's right. So like, there's a lot that you have to take care of. That Saturday is really nice. But then of course, Sunday sucks, because if you're like us, you finish up at midnight, and if there's a merch line that's like there's another hour, then you go in and settle up, you have a beer, you just chill out, you relax, and then you get back to your room at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. You can't fall asleep because you have to wake up at 4:30 to catch the 6 a.m. flight to head back.
Then you got to get the girl out of your
no.
I'll edit that in post.
And no. Then you gotta bury the body, and then you got what did I say?
You gotta what? Wait a minute.
No, but it is, but there is that feeling, and for us, we've been trying to bring people on the road with us who we love as our feature act, and then maybe if there's a local host or local comic that we love, it's like we hang with a group of people on Saturday, and it's so fun. Like we'll go to like the best barbecue place or the best whatever for lunch. And there's this feeling of like, we're gunslingers. We come into this town. We're like going to really figure out this town. And then we got, you're right, like 2 big shows that are going to be great on Saturday night. I do miss that a lot.
Do you ever take people up on their offers? Because I get offers all the time from like, people see I'm coming to Austin and they say, hey, I live in Austin and I belong to a country club. Do you guys want to play golf? Or like, hey, I own a barbecue place. I take care of you guys. You ever take people up on that?
So it's a mixed bag if you do that. I mean, golf is a commitment. I mean, you have to love golf to do it, because now you're tied to this person in a big way
for 5 hours.
Yeah.
For a long time. And if it's fun and cool, like, it depends what you have to do afterward. They're like, come and play golf on Friday. All right, you've done all the stuff, and maybe at 11 you play golf, but you might have some stuff to do, and they're going to want to like drink after golf. And you're like, I can't get drunk because I got 2 shows to do tonight.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? I just paid for a round. You're going. You're not going to sit around and like hang out and do it. You're like, so there's that aspect of it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we try and reach out. Like, let's say someone is like, hey, I work at this golf superstore. You guys want to come and hit balls in the thing, and I can get you. Like, that is fun. Or, hey, I run this barbecue place or this restaurant. We'll absolutely check that out. That's great. That's really cool. But
I've rolled the dice on golf a couple times. There's a guy in Florida. I won't say his name, but he comes out. He doesn't care. I could be playing Jacksonville. I could be playing Key West. This motherfucker will drive down. And he's rich. He shows up in like, sports cars. Yeah. And he shows up with clubs. He's already gotten clubs for me because they're like top of the line rentals from his country club. Right. And then he takes me out, takes care of everything. That's no awesome. Sweat on the drink afterwards. Like, done. Picks me up door to door. And he's the greatest guy. Like, we have a blast hanging out together.
That's amazing.
I think there is a level of people wanting to say thanks for what you give them. I mean, your podcast is free. Yeah. And we've been getting a lot of this in the pandemic from people, especially since we started doing the daily podcast. They're like, you've saved me. You've saved me on this daily thing by it's just amazing. And so they feel very indebted to you for what you've given them, a peace of mind. Like, as people are going crazy right now for a lot of reasons, as we barrel towards this election because of the pandemic, and our lives have changed in ways that, Greg, we've been friends for 25 years plus, okay? 26 years we've been friends. So like, when I think of how different our life is now versus any other time in that entire time of our adult life, I just can't imagine. This is the weirdest time we've ever lived through. So the fact that you give people, if we give them a half hour every day plus Dumb People Town, which is like an hour every week, and sometimes there's another mini episode on Fridays, and then there's our sports podcast. We're giving people so much stuff that they feel an outpouring. It'd be like, we're friends with bands, a bunch of bands, and we say to them, I just want to do everything for them when I see them. Right.
Plus you're giving them tweets and Instagrams and going on other people's podcasts. There's there is such a connection that you can make to people now that doesn't involve being in their town. And they really do. It is very, I feel like it. There's a couple podcasts. There's this guy who does a podcast called Sleep With Me.
Oh, yeah. I saw a whole thing about that guy.
Dude, I listened to that thing every night for years.
I saw it. So they have, and I saw this whole thing about him, and I'm sure you've heard about it. Like, people go and watch it live. He starts it at like,
I didn't know that.
He starts at 1 a.m. They bring their sleeping bags and they get in there in their pajamas. Yeah, so like, imagine going to like a podcast fest and you go to like, it's the same rooms that we've done our podcast in front of audiences, and people just fall asleep.
Oh, that's hilarious. If people don't know, basically the guy has the most mellifluous, unaffected voice, and he comes on and he's charming and he spins yarns. He'll literally recount episodes of Star Trek, or he'll tell like these fantastical, almost like a story you would put a kid to bed with. Yeah, and he goes out of his way to not jar you or be funny or even be too interesting. He tries to be kind of boring, but he rides this perfect line between boring and like a guy that is such a good speaker that you're hooked into him. Yeah. And so You just listen. I swear to God, I am asleep in 12 minutes every time.
It's brilliant.
So I have this connection to this guy because I'm in my bed. It's an intimate, vulnerable place.
It's like Johnny Carson. You understand why Johnny Carson meant so much to so many people, because for the first time ever, people had TVs in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
So you felt like what you're just describing. You let him into your bed. You let him into your bed with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get that. We get that from when our old show Cheap Seats. So here's a great little tiny story about that, which encapsulates everything we were just talking about. Our old show Cheap Seats was Randy and I sitting on a couch making fun of old weird sporting events and, dog shows, beard competitions. There was a guy who had a beard in the shape of a check mark, and we're like, he also has a check mark on the single box on his tax returns because no woman would ever date someone like that.
That's right.
So we would sit and make those jokes, and people said it felt like we were hanging out with them. It felt like they were with us. And then ESPN said, hey, you guys need to add a studio audience because it needs more energy and people need to laugh and people at home need to hear the laughter. And we said,
you guys don't understand how people are engaging with this shit.
Right.
And we begged them. We said, please don't do this. This is not a good idea. Well, they did it for 6 episodes and we got thousands of emails, and we archived them and handed them a giant binder filled with emails. And we said, we were right. The whole point of what we're doing right now, this show is comfort food for people because they feel like they're watching this event and we're sitting right next to them on the couch making these jokes.
Right.
And you added a layer that removed the intimacy.
Right.
So it's like we consume that. We're the biggest, like my distraction away from this craziness is Michigan football, college football, University of Michigan. There are about 4 or 5 podcasts that I listen to as I walk around my neighborhood, as I try to exercise, as I go to sleep at night. Guys who are just guys boringly talking about the X's and O's of the offensive line of a team puts me to sleep. I love it. I love it so much.
Right.
And yet at the same time, it gets me excited as I'm walking around the hill, someone's energy, and guys who are just funny about it. People who, we have friends, we're friends with most of the people who do these podcasts, but I write to them and I text them and I'm like, you guys are getting me through this. And so we're, like you said, we're consumers of these things as well. So then we understand what that means.
I understand the guy who drives down with the clubs from the country club to do that. That's his way. He is swinging a big dick, he's swinging a big Bertha dick, if you will. And he's hitting a nice fade with his big Bertha dick on you. And he's saying, thank you. That's his way of saying thank you, which I think is super cool, which another way, the other thing I miss is like going to different parts of the country. I mean, I wonder if it's crazy because it's gotten so intense politically in the last couple of years that I wonder if that's we haven't been out there since that has happened, since the pandemic. So I'm interested to see how far we can push the envelope in certain places that are not
Well, I'm really worried because it didn't matter what your politics were, but I really believe that people factor in whether they're coming to your show. And I think it's going to really happen after this next election because there's going to be half the country is going to feel cheated and robbed and untrustful. And the other half is going to feel like, fuck you, we won.
That's right.
And I think it's like what you're describing in the last 2 years, I think is going to get even more profound. And I think it's going to affect what comics you go to see, and almost people are going to want to, there used to be a warning like, not suitable for this R-rated show. Now it's going to be, this is a Democrat. This is a Republican.
And then for Jimmy Dore, it's going to be like, Democrats, watch out. He's going to make you mad.
He's going to make you feel guilty you didn't do more.
He's found a lane where he's like mainstream. It's amazing. I give him so much credit in the world. He's fine. And Dave Anthony in some ways too, which is
and really Sam Cedar.
Yeah, that they found a way to be like, hey, I know that this is the way the majority of these people feel, but they're wrong too. It's so interesting. So that warning might have to be on.
Yeah, my father-in-law was like that. He was a avowed communist, but he was an intellectual. He was had a chair at Bard College,
That's amazing.
He taught political science, and he was also
It was a folding. It was a folding chair. So
it was a folding chair. It was a director's chair, but it didn't even have his name on the back of it.
It just said director on it.
And so, but like when Cat, like he went to Nicaragua to fight with the
Barry Crimmins,
with Barry Crimmins and Randy Credico.
Okay, that freaking Barry Crimmins. Oh my God, Barry Crimmins.
As a matter of fact, when my father-in-law, he ran for U.S. Senate in New York, and he actually got a lot of votes. And I put together a comedy benefit at SUNY Buffalo, and Barry Crimmins drove all the way from Cleveland, because he was such a fan of my father-in-law, to do the show. And but anyway, my point is, there was never a candidate. I mean, even when it was like who was the guy that was so far left that ran?
Ralph Nader? No.
Yeah, when Ralph Nader ran, he was like, Ralph Nader's too far to the right. Like that guy's a sellout. That guy's all about corporate America. It was like, what? It's like,
because he took money from two people who were friends together. That's a conspiracy.
Right.
This is like the old bit we used to do about a little bit like we used to do when Occupy. Remember the Occupy movements were happening downtown. And our bit was that like
we went around Portland. We basically went around Portland. And what happened with the Occupy Portland movement was that
it lasted too long. It was like a one night stand that turned into like a marriage,
like a 6 month relationship.
So like you're in there, they're like, people are walking around. They're like,
after a while, you have to like, people live in this thing. You have to set up some kind of infrastructure in here.
So like you'd see people walking around being like, all right, we need a group of people to walk around and make sure that other people aren't doing bad stuff to the people who are living here. You mean like cops?
No.
Nobody said cops. Nobody said cops. We
got to come up with a system so like that like people we got to come up with a system where some people, if you want something from someone else, you can take some stuff that you have. So you mean like money? No. Nobody said any money.
Yeah, we need some way to like get all of these things we don't use anymore or that are used up, and we need to move them to another place. You mean like garbage men?
Yeah.
No.
You know, we're doing a lot more work in terms of organizing, so we should probably have better tents than the people who are just sitting around doing that. You mean like a class system? No!
No. I can't stand these freeloaders who are just these tentless freeloaders out here who are just us.
Yeah. He was like he was really walk the walk though. I had so much admiration. He just died like a year ago, and when he died, we buried him. He didn't want to be cremated because that causes a lot of carcinogens to be released. He didn't want to be embalmed because that doesn't decompose in the ground. Right. So we literally, like 4 days after he died, we had him in a wicker basket covered with flowers, and we carried him into the woods and dug a hole and put him in the woods.
God.
Amazing.
Shout out to Pier 1 Imports. Just a quick
We put some potpourri on top.
Wait, it was a Papasan chair? That's
in a
odd.
Papasan chair, and you did the. Hey, by the way, Fitzy, my computer's about to die. If it does, I'm gonna just get up on my phone and call you rather than
I'm still here.
My house.
You don't have a power cord?
I forgot it, and I thought that I was on full power.
Oh, all right.
I got you.
That's the beauty of having the Sklar Brothers on.
But the truth is, if you have to let me back in, that's the only reason I say that. If it dies, and you have to let me back in.
Got it. Okay. Right. So a couple of questions. I have a bunch of questions for you guys.
Great.
I went to your website. I don't know how much research you guys do on your guests. I guess you kind of don't have to on Dumb People Town because it just
we do a little bit of like, what do you have going on? And, I mean, again, like.
I go deep. Okay.
Let's hear it.
I've known, like you said, I've known you guys for 26 years. I still, out of my compulsion for perfection, do my research. And it says on your website that you have so many credits, obviously. And you guys have fortunately provided most of them already in the podcast. Mm-hmm. But you've released 6 critically acclaimed comedy albums. Now, were each of them critically acclaimed? And by acclaimed, how would you describe
Critics
that?
acclaimed that they were out, and most of them were panned. That is a fact.
They acclaimed.
Acclaimed. I mean, I will say this. Our album in 2011, Hender Sons and Daughters, was picked by The Onion, which we consider the Onion AV Club, which we consider to be a very, something we respect.
That's the best place to get a review. Yeah.
So they picked us in the top 10 of comedy albums that came out in 2011. That for us was the highest level thing. And then, all the other ones, every album we've done, we feel like has gotten good reviews. None of them have gone, viral and sold tons of copies and made us lots of money. But that's sort of what we realized.
So really, you had one critically acclaimed, and the others were duly noted.
Duly noted.
Yes.
Well reviewed. Well loved. I'm proud of you guys. 6 fucking albums. I've got 1 album, and then I've got 3 specials, but 2 of them are half-hour specials. So I lagged. So we have 2 half-hour specials and then 2 hour-long specials, and we're ready to do the next one in a universe where someone would allow that to happen.
Dude, I was ready to do my next one. I put it down on tape because I was going to send it up. My last one was on Comedy Central, and then it got picked up by Netflix, and now it's on Amazon Prime. And you would think 3 hits, that would mean a little back end scratch, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Not a fucking dime.
Nothing.
So anyway, so I'm ready for my next one. So I was in Portland at the Helium Comedy Club, which is one of the best clubs in the country.
Love it.
And so they got a guy there that's like a real crack videographer. And he comes out with 2 cameras. He drops about 7 microphones around the crowd, on stage. And he makes this really beautiful tape that I can send off to Comedy Central. So anyway, the pandemic hits, and I'm like, even if they bought this today, there's not going to be crowds for 2 more years for me to do a real special. So anyway, so I took that 1 hour and I decided to just put it out. So I've been putting it out once a week on Instagram. I put out like a 3-minute chunk from the special just to get it out, because you know what? I don't want this material when I come back. I got to burn it. I can't try to relearn old jokes that I've already used for 6 months or a year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the world's changed, and the world has changed since we wrote that material.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think ours will be a patch. It's interesting. Ours will probably be a patchwork of the old bits that we absolutely loved, and we'll have to get rid. And then we've written a bunch of stuff, and then Gay God's going to go in there. Gay God. Yeah.
That may be the cover of the album. Just God, he's got on like a tie-dyed toga.
He's like worked out, but just his upper body. He's done a cycle of steroids. He's got a designer doodle. I love it.
Dude, the long hair is gone. He's got it tight on the sides. Good product working the salad.
That's right. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. But I mean, it's, who knows what it's, we love doing stand-up. We love it for so many reasons. I mean, I love going to the store and seeing you at the store and just hanging with our friends who are there. There's like nothing better than standing in that back hallway outside the original room and just shooting the shit with our friends and making jokes and gagging around. It's kind of the same spirit with which we do Dumb People Town as a podcast.
Right.
Like this is where we are at our happiest.
But also I think what we see as the Comedy Store for us was the challenge of doing our type of comedy in a room that may or may not be predisposed to like what we're going to do and winning them over because
That's funny you say that, because you've got the Dave Crosses of the world and the Sarah Silvermans that really have such a strong, smart following, but they know them and they don't have to do any premises. They can just walk straight on. You know who I am. But there is something honest about going into a club. Like say you work in improv. Now some of these rooms are 500-600 seats. You're doing 5 shows, and it's like, look, if I could sell 3,000 seats, I'd be doing a fucking theater right now.
That's right.
So what they do is they end up giving away 20% of the house in free tickets. And now you've got, 20% of the crowd has no fucking idea who you are. And so you got to win those people over. And I kind of like that.
Well, because your material, Greg, and what's so great is my favorite part is when every bit that you do, you're basically unwrapping something to the honest center of what you're really talking about. There's like an honest core to every single bit that you do, that this is the truth. I'm going to say this. You may not want to hear this, but here's the truth of what I'm talking about in this moment right here. And that to me is the joy of watching you perform, is watching the audience be revealed what that honest truth is. And
So I can specifically remember being in the back of the main room at the Comedy Store, which is an awesome room with so much history. But like, if you have to follow a heavy hitter like Joey Coco Diaz or Rogan or someone like that in that room who 90% of the people are there to see.
Yeah.
You have to step on that stage and earn everything, because you're basically following a headliner who should not be followed. And there's no host in between you. Yeah. So there's no palate cleanser for people to like gather themselves again. And so I just remember sitting there watching you do your stuff. And I was like, this is the same set he would do at Largo. This is the same set he would do headlining at Hilarities in Cleveland. This is the same set he would do at the most alt show, wherever. This is Greg Fitzsimmons. And watching the crowd, some of them not know who you are, or some of them not know what to expect, and then watching you over 15 minutes, like gain their trust, make them laugh, like win a crowd over. That was super inspiring and fun to watch.
Thanks,
and I sat
man.
back, watched the whole set. It was great. And I
appreciate you saying that. Yeah, that is the muscle, isn't it? It's going up there and really picking them up. It's like picking them up and fucking carrying them, and then all of a sudden they're with you, as opposed to like they're already on their feet. And I thought about you guys in that vein too, is that like being able to, because we came up in New York when it was alternative comedy didn't exist for the first few years we were in New York, and then all of a sudden Largo popped up, Luna Lounge popped up, and the State had that show up on LaGuardia.
Stella, yeah.
And I think the people that worked both rooms was pretty broad. There was, Mark Maron and Louis C.K. and Todd Barry and all the people that were playing the Cellar, Jeff Ross, were also playing those rooms. You don't see that today. There's not that many acts that are working Largo and then heading over to the Comedy Store later that night. But you guys are still in that camp of people that go back and forth. And you don't have to make a choice. I think if you really find your own voice,
that's it.
You shouldn't have to change it, and you shouldn't be limited to one demographic.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's some game, a little bit of a shell game you have to play when you're kind of in that room among some people, that if you play that game a little bit, that you're playing at the Comedy Store main room with not more savvy, but a different style of audience in Largo, they won't like it. They're not. So you just have to kind of, in many ways, know your audience. And
they kind of sniff out if you're doing a bit that you just did, again, 5 times in a row in St. Louis the week before, but you got to take that same bit and talk it out, throw a couple extra words in there, take a longer pause, make it seem like you're just thinking of it.
Right.
Or get to the it's so funny. Or get to the truth of it, which is why your stuff works in both.
I remember we were doing a show downtown in LA. This what was that show? It's Harry Morrow's show ran.
Crane's Comedy. Crane's
Comedy. Amazing. Downstairs below, like in a bank vault below, like a Chinese restaurant, like old school, like almost New York alternative show, because it's downtown LA. And we riffed on a bunch of stuff. We had a bunch of new material. We came on stage. This is like 2 years ago, maybe, like really recently, like 30 years into us doing comedy. We're riffing. We're having a great set. It was one of our best sets ever. in recent times. We get off stage and we're like, oh shit, we got to get up to the Comedy Store. So we race up to the store, and we were supposed to go on, I forgot, someone was supposed to be before us. Like certain people at the store, you're like happy that you're following them because they'll actually remember your credits and give you a good intro and like care about you and set you up the right way. And that night we were following Chris D'Elia, who was just destroying the crowd, just crushing the crowd. And Randy and I were like, and had to follow him, didn't get a chance to talk to him ahead of time. And he brought us up with and you were as
nervous as a 14-year-old girl at that point.
Hey, come on. So he groomed us for a good set, and
he brought us up.
No. So he said, I know he was trying to go for a compliment, but it definitely didn't land with the audience. He's like, when these guys are up, all the comics in the back of the room are laughing, and we're like, that doesn't mean anything to these people. So
head off to the back of the room.
Yeah. So
I took it as a compliment, but again, like Jay said, he doesn't know what he didn't know what our credits were. And he was just crushing with D'Elia, material. And so then we came on, he kind
of texted it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he DM'd it in. And so then, but he was crushing it. We had given him so much credit. He had that room in the palm of his hands. And we then came up there and did the exact same set we had just done down, or similar to what we had just done down in this like amazing show.
Yeah. Right.
And got nothing.
Oh,
we ate it.
Yeah.
We ate it. And we came off stage and we were like, what? So we came off stage and we said, okay, that was awful. And we suck, or we beat ourselves up. And then we said, okay, you know what we need? We need some sort of opening thing at the Comedy Store.
Jay,
that is essentially, oh, sorry. How about now?
Go ahead.
So we need some opening bit that when we get on stage at the Comedy Store is like our version of a sort of high energy palate cleanser that we can twist in an alternative way, that we can make the crowd wake up and realize that there's a new act on stage, and to just sort of like ease us in. So we started trying to come up with what that bit would be. And we were like, when guys come on stage and start like just trying to get the audience to clap, that's such a funny thing for us when they're like, all right, where my ladies at?
Yeah.
Where my dudes at? Where my dudes at? Where my dudes make some noise? And then we're like, okay, now watch this. Where my ladies at? And the ladies start clapping. We're like, dudes, I don't know. It looks like you just got, like everyone here just got Me Too.
Oh,
like,
dude, Where's my married people at? Oh, listen to that applause. Now, where's my single people at? Now that's applause, people.
Right. So it's that things, but the thing we start asking gets more specific each time.
Okay.
We're like, well, all right, where my bros at? All right. Where my bros who recently went on a camping trip with their best bro? It got cold outside, so you guys climbed in the same sleeping bag for warmth. I mean, it was for warmth. This is what you told your wife.
It's for warmth. You told your wife it was for warmth.
But then you looked into his eyes, and for 1 second, you were like, I'd put the tip in. I'd let the tip
Where
slide.
are you at?
Where are you at?
Woo! All right, okay. All right. We're like, where my single moms at? Single mom. Where my single moms out there?
No, then we're like, all right, where my people out there? Where my dudes out there who support the war but not the troops? Where are you at?
That's no way.
Seriously, where are you? Get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here. Like, who supports that?
Dude, you should start every set with that. That's fucking hilarious.
So born out of that horrible bombing that we had, we developed this bit, and it's such a fun bit to do because it's so high energy and it's so engaging with the crowd, but it so twists it in a way that scratches the itch inside of us that makes fun of a comedy convention, which I have to say is like a, early influence from like Kindler and people we love who used to do that, and the alternative shows that we used to do down, like that's a bit we could have done on stage at Stella. That's a bit we could have done on stage at Luna Lounge. That's a bit that we could have just done that bit.
Right.
And that feels so fun for us. And what we noticed is that it engaged the crowd. And then right after that, and the crowd, even if they don't laugh at it, they're clapping and they're paying attention and they're focused. And then we get into our bits, and it changed how we were able to perform at the Comedy Store. And that's something we did 30 years into our comedy career. We had to learn how to do that. And that's what I miss. I miss the failures and then the coming up with something to fix it. Because we don't have that luxury right now.
No, that's the thing. It's like, if what we do for a living, if you're an insurance salesman, a bad day is, someone didn't return your call. You didn't close the deal you thought was going to happen. You go home, you fucking laugh with your kids at dinner. You throw a move on the wife, life goes on. But when we shit the bed in front of 300 people, your head hits the pillow that night. You ain't sleeping for a while. You're not feeling good when you wake up in the morning. It's like,
it's maybe going to take you 16 minutes to fall asleep listening to the Sleep Podcast.
That's right. And just putting the tip in. All right, listen, it's time to play a game. It's time to play a game called Rank 'em.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block. Rank them.
I got to say, go ahead, Rand.
I got to say Backstreet Boys number one. NSYNC became, JT is my favorite out of everybody on that whole list. There's one dude, but I think the Backstreet Boys, those guys, they made you say white people could sing at one point.
I say it's NSYNC because of Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake's ability to do comedy on Saturday Night Live is...
But that's him as a solo dude.
But he was in that band.
I know, but I don't think people were like, JT's a great comedian when he was in NSYNC. So I think it's Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and then who was the other one? 98 Degrees?
New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block. Yeah, New Kids on the Block was just... they were
the first boy band after Menudo. There was a decade and a half where there was no boy bands.
Menudo wasn't even a individual band. It was a band that had new members rotating into it. So
no shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Menudo was a concept. But I would say go back and listen to Hanging Tough, New Kids on the Block. You'll be shocked at how little instrumentation is in that song.
Uh-huh.
It's just a weird drum machine and these guys, I don't know. It doesn't hold up. Whereas, so if you were to put, here's the way I would describe it. If you were to put Hanging Tough on and sing it at a karaoke thing, people would be like, that's funny for literally one verse. If you were to put on the Backstreet Boys, You Are My Fire, that song, okay?
And I Want It That Way?
No, it's You Are My Fire.
That's the name of the song. I Want It That Way.
Yeah, I don't think I want it that way. I want to call it You Are My Fire. And if you were to put that on, every single person would sing. Every single person would sing that song. The place would be going nuts.
Yeah.
So I think they have more staying power. That's me personally.
Every single person that doesn't walk out would definitely be singing.
Right.
All right, next category, Blues, Cardinals, Rams.
God.
That's a tough one. I would probably say Cardinals, Blues, Rams. Although, man, that Blues run last year was, we spent our whole lives, almost 50 years of our lives, rooting for the Blues, watching great Blues teams, Brett Hull and Oates in the 80s.
Yeah.
We spent, I remember when Brett Hull scored 50 goals in 50 games and everyone's like, he's the greatest player ever. And then he couldn't win a title with us, but then went and won it somewhere else. Scott Stevens was our defender. And then he went and won it with New Jersey. And all these guys and all these teams that were great, Brian Sutter, Bernie Federico, we lived through those losses. So the win, when the Blues won last year, it was the most cathartic of a team that we rooted for, most cathartic win, like the kind of win that got us to like get in touch with old friends from childhood and start texting each other.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you're going to say, but you're still going to say Cardinals, Blues.
yeah,
By
because
the way, I should point out that the Sklar boys are from St. Louis. I'm sure everybody knows that, but just in case.
I mean, add to the fact that you kept Boston from winning another title. That also
Right. In a,
even
Boston,
in a year that they had already won the Super Bowl and the World Series.
Right. And you're just like, you got enough, Boston. Like, I've never seen people turn on that. It's like, I've never seen people turn on that. Like, everybody liked Boston, even though for years everyone's like, Boston hasn't won anything. You're like, what? The Celtics won everything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But for years, like, they can't win. Then 2002 hits, and it's like everything comes Boston's way. So that was good. That felt good too, to kind of snatch that one and to win in a Game 7. But I would say Cardinals. If you're asking about our true sports, I would throw University of Michigan in the mix because that's when we went to college. I would put Michigan football and basketball first, then St. Louis Cardinals.
But these are all these are St. Louis teams.
So I would say Cardinals, Blues, and Rams. Rams last.
But you got to double dip with the Rams. You got them when you lived in St. Louis, and now you get them when you live in LA.
yeah,
I don't dislike them at all. I actually think they're a fun team, and I like them, and they're interesting. And I have here's the thing, Fitzy, and I know you can appreciate this. As fans, when they lose, does it ruin your weekend?
No.
When they lose, will you yell at your kids in a way that you shouldn't be yelling at your kids?
Well, because you're in a city where there's other stuff going on besides sports.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No
and
offense to St. Louis.
that's what we say. I mean, none taken, and that's true. I mean, that's what we say about the Rasheed Wallace, who was a great basketball player. He used to play for the Pistons, and I don't know who else he played for, but
Portland. You don't know who else? You don't know
he
who
played
else
for Portland.
Jesus
Rasheed
Christ.
Wallace used to yell, like if he fouled someone and he didn't think it was a foul, and then they missed their free throw, he would yell, "Ball don't lie." So the ball don't lie. That shouldn't have been a foul, is what he says. Same at that. You can't fake how much you care about a team. So like Randy said, like the whole thing is, if a team loses, how much does it make you miserable? And that's the team you care about the most.
Right. I mean, look at imagine Green Bay when they lose a home game. That town has nothing else going on.
And everyone's a shareholder. So
Everyone's a shareholder on top of it.
It
All right,
feels
next,
like a financial loss.
next category,
Yeah.
standing ovation, selling out of merch,
Yeah.
making a bonus.
Oh,
That's so
God.
good.
If people don't know, making a bonus means you sold out that show and you get an extra X number of dollars for that show.
I think making a bonus, because it means, is the first thing. Then I think selling out of your merch is the next one, and then standing ovation. Because some audiences don't know. We've gotten a few standing ovations, and I'm telling you, it feels unbelievable and it's great. But you can get a standing ovation from 50 people, and you give a great show to 50 people, and they can stand up and give it to you, and that would be fantastic, and those are amazing. But if you hit bonuses, that means people are out to see you. They're there to see you. You've sold it out.
You feel good for the club. It's like you enter this.
Everybody wins. They win and you win. Yeah.
And then that means next time you go back, you can ask for maybe a little more money, or you can say, hey, you're worth it. But again, Randy and I aren't on the road every week. And you know the difference between clubs that are corporately run, where the owner isn't in the building. But there are a few clubs around this country, like Hilarities in Cleveland, or Comedy Attic in Bloomington, or Comedy Works in Denver, or Comedy on State in Madison, where when you do well, the owner is you want to do well for these people. They're like your partner.
You just did well in their living room. You helped them make the mortgage. Yeah.
Yes.
You went out there and fought for yourselves, and you fought for them, and for us, we don't have a lot of people get up and walk out of our shows and be upset. Usually, I'd say 99.8% of the time, people have a great time and want to come back to the club again. So,
that's critically acclaimed shows for the most part.
Well, 1 out of 6.
One out of 6.
1 out of 6 is a critically acclaimed show. So 1 a weekend. But I mean, the idea that like, that's what we bring to the table. So if we are hitting bonus, it means we sell out. We're selling out a show, which always feels great because your numbers are going up. Then selling out a merch means you affected people in a way that they wanted to come out afterwards and just buy more of what you had. They're buying more of what you're selling, quote unquote.
Right.
And we always, so we bring the merch with us. We don't have it shipped there. We bring the merch with us. So our suitcases are so heavy when we go out there, and literally and figuratively, it's like a weight off your shoulders when you come home. Your bags are light.
What's worse than packing merch up to go home? That is such a failure.
Horrible feeling.
Well, and that really feels bad. Now, I mean, so the good thing for us is we got hats, we have sweatshirts, we sometimes bring, we still have some CDs that we're trying to get rid of that some people still listen to, and t-shirts and stuff. So when we go back and it's lighter, and we can, divide it up in half in terms of bringing that stuff. But the merch is a really big thing for Jay and I, because we have to split the money anyway. So to get that extra money that we make on merch is like, that's such a huge help for us. So
yeah, well, I always say, because I sell my DVD, it's a DVD and a CD box set of my last special. And I say I'll be selling my DVD after the show, also selling DVD players. So you can pick those up.
we had an old bit when people had CD players. We're like, we'll be selling CDs after the show. Not our comedy CD, just a bunch of shitty Creed CDs we got to get rid of.
We're moving some Creed.
Yeah,
we got to get rid of it. We got them for pennies on the dollar, and we're trying to pass those savings on to you.
All right, the last one, maybe last one. I'll see if you guys want to do a bonus.
Sure.
Sex with the wife.
Yeah.
Kids saying "I love you."
Ooh.
Making a bonus.
I would say standing ovation after sex with my wife. Is that one? Is that
if I can sell my wife,
she's got to go to the toilet. I mean, that's
if
why
I can sell my wife a sweatshirt after we've had sex.
That means she's buying what you're.
All right, final one.
Sex with the wife.
I would say sex with the wife, kids I love you bonus. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Aaron Hernandez, Ray Lewis, Oscar Pistorius.
We were saying the other day that Oscar Pistorius, if he killed his girlfriend and he was an American runner, there would be a heavy contingent in this country who'd be like, first of all, he'd be a Trump supporter, and there'd be a heavy contingent in this country who'd be like, she was asking for it, and he would still be running, like he'd still be racing.
Well, what's insane is that he tried to defend himself, and he didn't have a leg to stand on.
Hey now,
come on!
All right.
It's like, when a joke is so bad, but you can't poke a hole in it.
And you also can't not say it. It's like,
when a joke is so bad, you can't poke a blade in it.
When I was in Boston, there was a guy named John Silber who was running for governor, and he only had one arm. And I said, I think he's going to win the election single-handedly. And I felt bad about it every time, but I knew it was a laugh, and I did it anyway.
Good. Well, look, but when he wins, he's really going to have his hand full.
And you got to hand it to him. All right.
Yeah, and he's not the kind of guy that claps for himself either.
Yeah.
No. Well, what is the sound?
You know why? He reached out to people with open arm, and.
All right. It really does take one elbow grease.
All right, stop.
All right, so we got Aaron Hernandez and Ray Lewis and Oscar Pistorius.
So are we talking about worst person on earth? Is that the...
That's the beauty of Rankum is you come up with your own agenda.
Okay, so Jay, do yours.
So I think it's Aaron Hernandez is the worst because we know what he did. I think Pistorius is number 2. And I think, Ray Lewis won a Super Bowl. So,
Are we talking? So I'm going to rank them in terms of dancing. Ray Lewis is the best dancer.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's got his signature dance.
Yeah.
I think, and Aaron Hernandez, up in the club was dancing and someone knocked a drink on him. So I probably was very prideful about the way, and, gay, closetedly gay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming I'm just going to assume maybe negatively that he had some good dance moves.
How is that negative? That's positive
That's a
stuff.
positive.
Positive, but you never want to assume about a group of people. So I put that caveat in there. And then Oscar Pistorius, sans blades would be fun to watch dancing, but I don't know. I mean, so I think as far as dancing goes, it's got to go Ray Lewis, Aaron Hernandez, and Oscar Pistorius.
Pistorius cuts his dancing short.
He does. Unless we're talking about Aaron Hernandez dancing today, in which case I would slip Pistorius slightly ahead of him.
The Sklar Brothers, you've done it again. You've showed up on Fitzdog Radio as you have. It's been a while. You guys came on every year for a decade, and then somehow we just haven't had it together in the last.
Let's do every year.
Been a few years.
It's my favorite thing, dude. You are a favorite, man. Thanks.
Thanks. Such a great hang with you guys.
Thanks,
and don't forget to check out Sklar. Is Sklar Country still happening?
So we're doing this daily podcast, and it's every day. You can check it out. We have a YouTube page. Look up Sklar Country on YouTube, and you can see kind of videos of that. We put up old episodes of Cheap Seats, some old stand-up and stuff. But if you look up Sklar Country, the virus edition, you can see what we're talking about on a daily basis. It's a great 25 minutes every day while you're walking the dog, while you're doing the dishes. It's our take on what's happening really in this pandemic right now and people acting like idiots. Dumb People Town, start with the Fitzdog episode, which just happened about a month ago. And so that Dumb People Town comes out every Tuesday. And then if you're a sports fan, I love what our sports podcast has become. It's called View from the Cheap Seats. It drops every Friday, but we have on we had on Coach Rick Neuheisel, who coached Colorado and Washington and UCLA. He talked about the Cordell Stewart ripping our hearts out as University of Michigan 1995. Uh-huh. He talked about everything leading up to that play on the sideline, in the huddle. It was just one of the most fascinating. So it's stuff like that, but at the same time, it's our take trying to be funny about the world of sports too. So it's all out there.
I would announce tour dates, but I don't think you have any coming up. But we do know that you're doing a live taping or live streaming.
Live streaming in Dumb People Town with John Hamm and the band Tennis on November 7th. If you go,
and I'm going to say this, Fitzy. I think you should do a show you should do a stand-up show at Nowhere Comedy Club.
And what do like my best hour?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do your most current hour. Yes. Yeah. All these fans who listen to your podcast will buy tickets to that. It'll be so fun.
I'll do it.
You can get to everyone around the country and around the world who love you.
I love it. I'm going to do it.
We'll text you the info.
All right, and we're overdue for a round of golf, so let's get on a text chain about that today.
Yes.
And I'll see you guys in the clubs hopefully soon.
Definitely.
All right, buddy.
All right, God bless.
Love you dearly.
Love you too. Goodbye.
Bye, Fitzy.